The Gina and Maddie podcast.
Here at Star 104.5, we have been doing Movember. So we're, 19 days into Movember. Throughout the month, we've been having chats to people on air, talking all things men's mental health, of course, suicide prevention, testicular cancer and prostate cancer. And at the end of the month, on Friday the 29th, as suggested by Elizabeth, who rang in from the entrance, we're bringing in a treadmill G into the studio, and I am going to be doing a more than a run, 30-kilometre run live on air, strapped up with the microphone, the headphone, trying to do my back announcing, my time calls, my forward sells and all that kind of gear on this day, everything we do normally during the show, but I'm trying to run 30 kilometres. Now,
that's amazing. It's a whole different level of fitness, isn't it? If you can talk and run at the same time. You're virtually Central Coast Zone Taylor Swift. That's how I'm putting it.
Well, I haven't done it yet. Let's see how that plays out. It might be fine for everyone who listens from 6 to 6:15 might be like, oh, he's doing really well. And then it could just go downhill very fast. There's different distances the more than a run have. There's a 10-kilometre run, a 30-kilometre run and a 60-kilometre run. I'm doing the 30, and the 30 represents the 30% rise in the number of Australian men dying by suicide over the last decade. That number's going the wrong way. That's an increase. So Movember's about starting conversations. That's what the slug is. It's about getting the word out that it's okay not to be okay, that our men are suffering a crisis, like it's our brothers, our uncles, our mates, our sons. There is a health crisis going on and we can't afford to stay silent for too long. So I thought this was a great opportunity to have a chat to a local who is doing something incredible. Now, I'm doing 30. This next person we're going to speak to, she's in the studio with you at the moment, G.
Yes.
Her name's Sophie Handsaker. On Saturday the 30th, down at the Gosford Waterfront, she's going to be running 60 kilometres as part of More Than a Run, and I've banged on long enough. I'd like to introduce the rest of the Central Coast to Sophie Handsaker. Good morning, Soph.
Good morning, Maddie. Thanks very much for having the show, and Gina. 60 kilometres end of November on the Saturday, which is going to be a huge feat. There's a lot of us running together in conjunction with Running Repairs, which is a local running shop in Long Jetty. So there's a whole group of us either doing 10 kilometres or 30 or 60.
Can you tell us on the coast here, so where do you start and where do you finish, and what does 60 kilometres, do you just go round and round, or do you go from one spot to another?
Gina, great question. So we're actually allowed to devise our own plan. So there is a 5K loop.
Yeah.
If you could imagine, though, doing 12 laps of 5K, easy to drop out of mentally.
And forget which lap you're up to. That would be me.
100%.
I think I'm up to 10.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Yep. Gina cheated, so we're going to wrap that up. Yep.
I would definitely cheat.
No, I don't mean like that. But yeah, it'd be hard to keep track. So I think what we will do is we'll start around Drifters, 5 a.m. Is the 60K group, and we'll probably do 30K out towards Woy Woy and then 30K back in.
Okay.
So I think we'll do that. Then simultaneously, the 30-kilometre guys will start a few hours later, and then the 10-kilometre guys will start slightly later. So we all essentially finish at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yep.
That's well thought of. So the people starting
Sophie,
at 10K, sorry, Maddie, the 10Ks are going to be less puff than you, so they might beat you.
Yeah, they'll come in fresh.
Sophie, why 60 kilometres? Why are you such a big supporter of mental health? You're an advocate in this space. You've worked for the New South Wales Police. Why does this mean so much to you?
Sadly, I've been directly impacted by suicide. I lost my former partner to suicide in 2012 in Sydney, and unfortunately he was at only 20 years old. So I've been directly impacted. As I mentioned to your producer, I've never really had the courage to celebrate any of his legacy because it's such a hard thing to come to terms with and live day by day. And now I'm in this space. I'm a mum now. I'm essentially in a really stable relationship. And I just thought, you know what, I've run a couple of marathons. And I also, as you said, I've seen the increase of men's suicide, which is just devastating. It's going up. And I think if the more people, Maddie, that get out there in the community and speak on platforms, the better it is. Because men, they feel like a burden. They feel like they can't talk, and they feel innately they're born to not cry and say, you know, I'm good. And that's the issue. We need to give men a space where they feel safe to say, I'm not doing well, and find someone that they connect with so that they can essentially get those demons out of their head. and look after their mental health so they can be a dad and be a partner and be a friend and be a good brother.
I love that. I love that so much, Soph. I do need to say, if there's anyone listening to this at the moment and they need someone to have a chat to, the Lifeline Crisis Support Service is available 24/7, and the number there is 13 11 14. The 10-kilometre run is the figure there is for the 1 in 10 men who are suffering with anxiety or have mental health issues and dealing with them at the moment. When you say about finding people to connect with, Soph, I have my own anxiety battles, and I'm a big champion in this space because, you know, it's a constant work in progress for me, and I've witnessed friends who have had attempts as well, which is horrific to go through, and I could only imagine what you went through, and I really appreciate you sharing that, Soph, because that's a big share. Fitness, we were talking about it off air, the correlation between exercise, and it doesn't have to obviously be running 60 kilometres, but the correlation between exercise and then how that can improve mental health, especially in men, is such an incredible thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's paramount to any person struggling, male or female, but particularly males, because, you know, since they don't have that space to maybe speak openly, I actually spoke to my partner before I came on air about this, and he said that, Sophie, when he was going through his dark times, that boxing saved him. So he found a community of people where he could train boxing, and people that then in turn became his friends and mentors and people that he could talk to. A lot of men, maybe they don't have access to a gym. Maybe it might be just they are doing a run or a walk, or maybe it's a swim, and you will find in those communities, when you're moving the body, people that you can talk to. And we all know endorphins create happiness, and that may help the men to find some sort of relief during that day when they're training. It's paramount to your mental health.
We spoke last week to Phil from Walk It Off. So there's a group on the Central Coast that walk and talk. For those who are listening now who can't run like you can run, there are groups out there. And when you were saying that just then, Soph, women, we talk.
That's right.
We are each other's best friends, we're each other's psychiatrist, psychologist, counsellor, all that sort of stuff, but men don't open up as easily. And you're saying when the endorphins are great, but you get them out exercising, not face-to-face, not looking at each other, no eye contact, and they might talk.
That's right. Also as well, Gina just hit on the head. Women go out for coffee, we look each other in the eye and say, how you going? And often we'll break down in tears if we're not doing well. Men will often usually go to a mate's house, watch a screen, football or sport. They don't even look at each other. And you'll ask someone, oh, how's your mate? And they say, oh yeah, he's good. They didn't even really talk about that. So if you can get them in a forum where it's a bit more open, walk and talk, Movember, More Than a Run, these different other platforms of exercise where people are actually like talking, it's different. Yes. Very, very different.
Sophie, being a mum and having gone through this, if someone's listening at the moment and there's a man in their life who they think might be struggling, but they can't, they're like, oh, I don't know, maybe he is. He's not quite himself. He's a bit quiet. He's saying no to going to social events that he'd normally say yes to. Have you got any life advice that you might be able to pass on to someone who is around someone who might be struggling?
Yeah, Maddie, very good question. I think first and foremost is we're not mind readers. I think that's the thing. We're not mind readers, but the thing you need to be able to tell your partner or your loved one is that I'm here. I'm here if you need to talk to me any time of the day. So that person knowing that you're actually there for them and you can, you're open to listening, that's it. Don't try and fix the problem. You don't have to try and fix it. You just need to be there, creating a safe space for when they're ready to talk. I think a lot of times when there's a lot of silence, we try and fix it. Also as well, giving your partner support is also allowing, say, their best mate, hey, look, such and such isn't doing well. Would you mind reaching out? So then your loved one knows, oh, you know what? Sophie's reached out. Tim's reached out. I am loved. I am seen. They can tell I'm quiet, but people are reaching out and checking in, which may start a conversation for your loved one to say, hey, look, I'm not okay. And admitting that something isn't right is the first step to help combat men's mental health.
Sophie, you are amazing. We're so glad you came in to talk.
That's so kind.
You've got a beautiful message and speaking from the heart and experience. Thank you for coming in and being with us today. Good luck with your run. Maddie wants to tell you something.
Thank you.
I just want to say if someone might be listening, and I know you're running 60Ks and no one can train for a 60K run in less than 2 weeks, but someone that might be listening, they go, you know what, I reckon I can knock out 10Ks, put myself out of my comfort zone and push myself a little harder. If they want to get down there to the Gosford waterfront, is there anything, and do it as part of More Than a Run with you, how can we go about that?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. We're not all elite athletes, Maddie. So what we can do is you can actually walk or run the 10 kilometre. The best way to do it is if you go to Instagram, look up Running Repairs, which is a local running shop in Long Jetty. You can actually join the run group as part of them. And I believe the 10 kilometre run leaves about 8 or 9 o'clock from Drifters. But contact those boys and you'll be able to join the group and walk or run. Anyone can come down at any point. So it starts at 5 a.m. Saturday the 30th around Drifters, and we'll be running for about 7 hours. So you can come in and jump in. Doesn't have to be 10. Maybe it might be 5.
Great.
Yep.
How good. And bring lots of chopped up watermelon. Is that a favourite of yours when you've done a big run like that, some chopped up watermelon? So what do you want someone to bring down to replenish your body after 60 Ks?
To be honest, I'll probably go with some caffeine gels and probably a banana. Yep.
Love it. Good luck, mate. You're going to smash it. Make sure you pop. If you are cruising past on Saturday the 30th and you see a whole bunch of people running, make sure you get on the horn, because every bit of encouragement and you need it when you're running that sort of distance. That's Sophie Handsaker there, part of More Than a Run. Running Repairs on Instagram if you want to get around it.
The Gina and Maddie Podcast.
For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.